pretty stiff and sore. This morning I ran my second marathon, and Barefoot Marathon, just like my first one. It wasn't any officially hosted marathon that I paid hundreds of dollars to enter or anything. I just ran 42 kilometers. Actually, today was 42.5 kilometers, and my time was 3 hours and 21 minutes, which is just a little bit better than my last time. The last time it was 42 kilometers exact, and I think I did it in 3 hours and 25 minutes or 24 minutes, something like that. I don't know. Doesn't really matter to me. It's just the time. I'm just happy to be able to run the distance. And today, I almost didn't go through with it. I've been thinking about it last few days, coming into the weekend, and see that the kind of the training schedule for running that I've set myself up with at this point is to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I want to go at least 10 miles or 16 kilometers. But moreover, I'd like to do maybe build it up to where it's at a half marathon for each of those days. So like 21 kilometers, which wouldn't be hard to do because I'm doing about 16 and a half right now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, very regularly. So boosting it up another 4 kilometers or whatever wouldn't be too hard. I'd like to get the Wednesday to where I might sacrifice a little bit of the distance, so that I could incorporate some obstacles training into the Wednesdays, because I really would like to have obstacles involved at least one day a week in my runs, even if it's just going to a playground and doing some kind of circuit on the playground, or hopping a fence here or there or whatever, just to have some kind of obstacles, because I think it's good. And I want to work on more of that kind of stuff, the vaulting and all the different upper body strength to pull yourself up, different environments. And then the Saturday, I'm reserving for doing at least 2/3 of a marathon every Saturday, if not a full marathon. And coming into today, the last few days coming up to this weekend, I've been thinking, it's been 3 weeks since I did the first marathon. I'm sure my body's pretty much recovered now. Maybe it's time to do another one. Last Saturday I didn't even do a really long run. I think I just did the 16.5 K because I had another pressing issue to deal with. But the one before that, I did 32 kilometers, so about 3/4 of a marathon. And even that was, pretty hard to do. But the full marathon, for me is extremely hard to do. Today, when I got up this morning, I really didn't want to go running at all. I woke up and went into the kitchen, got something to drink, and thought about, do I really want to run? My body wasn't feeling so great. Still felt pretty worn out from yesterday's run, and so I ended up going back to bed for like another hour or so, and then getting up again. And then I decided, well, I'll go out, get my run in, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do a marathon or not. I just figured I'd get started and see how I felt as I went along. And as it turns out, for most of the first part of the run, I was still kind of telling myself, well, this is not going to be a marathon day, because I just wasn't feeling up to it. And it seemed like the route that I was taking seemed very, very long. It seemed like I was going slower than I had the last time, but in fact I was actually going faster. And when I got to about, the halfway point, about 22 kilometers in, I was still feeling really good. And then I was thinking, all right, well, if I continue to feel good like this, then might as well go ahead and do it. I think by then I kind of my body had just gotten into it, and it was just kind of enjoying the run. At that point, I'm at this park with a lake, running on grass, and so it feels good. Feels like I got a lot of bounce to my step and that kind of a thing. And so I just told myself, well, might as well keep going, go through with it. So I continued the run at about 31 kilometers. There's a crucial point where I'm at an intersection that's close to my actual home. It's right at the entry to my little subdivision, and it's very tempting just to go home. In fact, that's what I did 2 weeks ago, to end it with a 32-kilometer run. At that point, I'm just a kilometer away from my house, and I decided just to go home that week. But this week, at that intersection, I forced myself, forced myself to continue down the road, and continue on with the marathon, which would be another extra 10 kilometers or so. It loops through a neighboring subdivision to the south. Even at that point, at that intersection, at the 31K, my body still felt pretty good. My run still felt pretty good. It was slowing down, but still felt pretty good. But after that point, it starts to break down really quick, to where my run becomes a crawl, and it becomes increasingly unpleasant psychologically and physically. And probably something is going on, physically with the body at that point into the run that I'm not totally aware of. I know at that point, I'm pretty hungry, so it probably has a nutritional component to it. I know at that point I probably lost a lot of water and a lot of salt. I do make 2 stops, both of them at that park with the lake, along the route. One at about 22 kilometers and one at about 28 kilometers, 2 stops to replenish the water, my water bottle. I carry a water bottle along with me, and I've been putting some of that, it's kind of like electrolyte replenishing flavor crystal powder stuff in there, and I just put some in when I leave the house, and then by the time I make my first water stop at the 22, I probably drank half of my bottle, and I just replenish the other half, and then by the time I get to the 28, the same, and then that last bottle there carries me all the way home. But you know, it's not enough to certainly to stave the hunger that starts to hit, and you know, the feeling that the bad feelings of the last 10K. Because I find the last 10K pretty unpleasant, and I'm sure, you know, as I train some more, that will be reduced, that unpleasantness. But right now, only having done 2 of these marathons so far, that last K is really difficult. That last 10K is really, really difficult. And but this time, I can say that it wasn't as physically difficult for me. It didn't feel as physically difficult as it did the first time. I think in this 3 weeks, my body has made some adjustments to prepare itself to be able to do this kind of endurance test. So yeah, physically it was hard, but it wasn't as difficult as last time. Mentally though, I think this time was much more difficult for me, this marathon. And I was trying to think about why, as I was running along, why does it feel so much more difficult? And what I kind of came up with is that I just didn't have the same kind of motivation that I did on the first one. You know, on the first one, I'd never done a marathon before, so there was a aspect of it that was, you know, about actually accomplishing the marathon, and you know, breaking through that ceiling that had kept me from being able to do a marathon before, both physical and psychological. So there was that was giving me motivation, as well as getting included in the FMK Kuhn records for being able to run a marathon, because there's only one guy in the FMK Kuhn that has done that before. So I wanted to be up there with him for that. But you know, mainly just to be able to say that I did it. That was a strong motivator. This time around, because it's not the first time anymore, then a lot of that sense of accomplishment and bragging rights and this and that, it's just not there. You know, at this point already, it's just another marathon, and I don't have to run it. You know, if you did one marathon a year, you know, you could say you're in probably pretty good cardio shape. Doing one every 3rd week or whatever, you know, why should I put myself through that? You know, that's what my little voice was telling me on the run, as things were getting more difficult. It was like, hey, come on, we don't need to do this today. You've already gone a long way, you know. You've gone over 30 kilometers, you don't have to go the whole, the house is right over there, you can go and get something good, cool to drink, and you can eat some fruit, and you know, so it's a lot of temptation to just quit. I didn't quit mainly because, you know, when you're at that point already where you're like forcing myself to pass that intersection was a good thing. Forcing myself to go down the road, because once I was like maybe a kilometer down the road, then it starts to get to where I'm far enough away that it makes more sense just to do the loop and go home the route that I need to complete the marathon. And it doesn't make sense to stop and walk that at all, because, you know, the faster I get home, you know, the quicker I can get to those rewards that I'm looking forward to, which is cold beverages and food and sitting down. So then I just keep running, and yeah, eventually get to the 42 kilometers. So yeah, psychologically I found it way more difficult. There just wasn't the motivation there. I hope that it's kind of like with running short distances, even when I started running like 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers, that, you know, there were days like that then too, where I didn't want to go as far as 5 kilometers or something, you know. I just did the 3, and it wasn't feeling fun for me. Hopefully my body will get to where, you know, it needs a marathon every few weeks or whatever. I think it will, because I think it's already happening. Otherwise I wouldn't be running marathons. But you know, at least so far, it is pretty. I'm finding it very difficult to do, but it's getting done. And I can feel my body right now, post-marathon, is not in quite as bad a shape as it was that first time around, or even the week that I did the 32K. I'm pretty stiff and sore, but the recovery is going a little bit smoother. As far as nutrition on my recovery, as soon as I got back to the house, I did have more of the electrolytes replacement drink, cold, and I had a bunch of cherries. I just sat and ate you know, fresh cherries from British Columbia until I was full, and it didn't take much. It took maybe like 20 cherries or something, and I felt like pretty replenished. And then I went back and got more food a couple of hours later. And what I did at that point, my body was feeling weird and just going on instinct. I thought maybe I needed something salty, so I fried up. It doesn't sound nutritionally right, but I fried up some Spam, and I had a Spam sandwich. It's at the Sundance Aqua Guts and ceremony about a week ago, and the Horn Society gave us a bunch of food that included a bunch of cans of Spam. So they're sitting around, but that stuff is really salty. So I thought maybe that will help. So I ate one of those, and I felt way better after eating one. So maybe I needed some salt. Yeah, and that's about it. That was my experience with my second marathon. And obviously right now I'm stretching a little bit. I'm going to stretch for a little bit here, and hopefully that helps a little bit with some of the recovery. And yeah, I'm betting by tomorrow my body will be feeling pretty normal again.